The second part of today's lesson asks us to find the slope given 2 points. So let's take a look at a formula we can use to find the slope given 2 points. So first of all, remember what I had talked about before. Slope is equal to m. That's the variable we use because slope has steepness, and mountains are steep, so we use the variable m, which stands for mountains. Now remember I said the slope represented the change in the y direction. Well, change means we're going to subtract two numbers. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take the two y values of each of the points and subtract them. And I put y1 because that signifies a different point. Now remember what goes on the bottom of the fraction? The change in what direction? The x direction. That's right, the horizontal direction. It's the run. And so we write x minus x1. So we're finding the difference of the two x values. So that's what we're going to do on this first problem, and all the others from there on out. I'll label this one x and this one y. This one would be x1 and y1. And what we're going to do is take that x value and the y value, and we're going to put them into this formula. So we've got m equals, now the y value, here's 6, so I'm using this one right here. This y value is the one I used, minus 9. So I use this y value. And then down below, so I took the two y values and I subtracted them. Now I take the two x values, 3 minus 6. So again, it's this x value here I used for that 6, and this 3 here went in place of that x value. And then I do the subtraction. So when I do that, 6 minus 3 makes negative 3. And then down below here, 3 minus 6 also makes a negative 3. So all I have to do now is reduce the fraction. I could take out a negative 3 from each of them. And then the answer becomes 1 over 1, which just has a slope of 1. So 1 is the slope. So let's take a look at another problem. Here we have two different points. This time we have a bunch of negative signs, so that'll be interesting. So let's go ahead and write out our formula again, y minus y1 over x minus x1. So remember, as I said before, we have 2 points. And so we call one of them x and y. The other one, to signify it's different, we call x1 and y1. And so we just take those values, the y values first. These are the first numbers. Those two get subtracted. We take the difference of those two y values, negative 5 minus negative 9. Now down below that, we're going to take our x values. So the x values, remember, those are the first numbers. That's these two numbers here. These get written down below. So since I started with the negative 5, I also have to start with the negative 1. So negative 1 minus negative 9. Oh, I made a mistake up here. Did you see the mistake I made? Hopefully you caught it before I did. Well, right here, I put a negative 9 here. What should I have put? That should be a negative 1. Remember, it's negative 5 minus negative 1. So I'll go ahead and change that now so I don't make any other mistakes. And I think I'll use the color blues to make those match. So let's go over that again. We've got our negative 5, this is our y value, minus negative 1. So remember, you're always going to write down each of the numbers, no matter what the signs are, and there's always a minus sign in between. And for the x values, it was negative 1 minus negative 9. So when we have a subtraction problem with negatives, we want to add the opposite. So here's what it becomes. This minus sign right here becomes plus. We're going to add the opposite. So we take the opposite of the next number. So this is what changes right here. Same thing over here. We're going to add the opposite. So again, this is what changes. Not the first number, but the subtraction to addition, the next number to its opposite. So let's rewrite what we've got now. Negative 5, it's now plus positive 1. Down below we have negative 1 plus positive 9. So we go ahead and do some work there. That makes negative 4 over positive 8. So we can reduce that fraction now. Take out that common factor. Go ahead and take out the 4 in each of those numbers. And our final answer would be negative 1 over 2. So there's our slope, negative 1/2. Well, let's take a look at this next problem. So again, remember our formula. We're doing m, which stands for slope, equals the change of y over the change of x. Subtraction of the y's over the subtraction of the x's. So let's start with our y values. Remember, this is our x and our y, and this is our x1 and our y1. And so our y values are the last numbers. These are the two y values that we write first. So we'll write 0 minus negative 3. It's always minus because we're taking the difference of whatever number is next. And then down below, we'll do the x values. So our x values are 3 and 3. So we'll write those down. 3 minus 3. And so when we go ahead and do the work here, we're going to add the opposite again. At least when I'm having to subtract negatives, it's always nice to do. So I'm going to add the opposite. And now I get 3 over, well, 3 minus 3 is 0. Oh no, do we remember what happens when we try to divide by 0? We can't do it, remember? If I tried to do the division, I would have 0 into 3. Well, 0 times any number. You could put any number up here and you still get 0. And you don't make any progress at all. And so that's why if you plug this into a calculator, 3 divided by 0, you get an error message. And it says you can't do that. You can't divide by 0. So we say we have undefined slope is what we have here. And that would be our answer. Undefined slope. We cannot define it as slope. It doesn't have slope. And so what this is a vertical line. Vertical line. And so we write that as undefined slope. Don't have slope in this sense. Well, here's the last one. Again, we'll write down our formula. Y minus y1 over x minus x1. We'll take a look at our two ordered pairs. So we've got our x and our y values for each of those ordered pairs. I'll call this one x, call this one y. This one we'll call x1 and y1. So from there, we'll take our two y values, starting with those two, these two numbers. Those go first. So we'll write down negative 2 minus negative 2. It's always the number minus the other number. And then down below, these are the x values. So we'll write those next. X values in this case are negative 6 and positive 5. So negative 6 minus 5. So remember, the last numbers in each of the ordered pairs go up top. The first numbers go down below. Well, now we need to add the opposite. So remember, when we add the opposite, subtraction changes to addition. The next number to its opposite. Subtraction to addition, next number to its opposite. Go ahead and do the work here. Negative 2 plus 2 makes 0. Down below, negative 6 plus negative 11 makes negative 11. Well, this is okay. You can divide any number into 0. You always get the same answer, so let's try it. Negative 11 into 0. Well, negative 11 times 0 makes 0. And we're done. See, we have a remainder of 0, so you've completed the division. So you can divide a number into 0, you just can't divide 0 into a number. And so since we divided a number into 0 and got 0 as the answer, we say the slope equals 0. So if we have a horizontal line, which is what this would make, and you saw those examples in the first part of this lesson, the horizontal lines have 0 slope, vertical lines have undefined slope. So that concludes this part of the lesson. Next, tomorrow we'll be working on graphing using the slope and a point.